going live. All right, boom. We are live. So I am back already after a great interview with Mr. Jason Nixon. I reached out to Mr. Jessie JT Tate to see what he had to say. We have a good conversation. Like I said, I want to highlight some of the black men within our community. I know Mr. Tate has been putting in work for some time. I remember from me being a young boy, just like his voice being popular out there. And then we got the jokes and the comedy shows, and we got the announcements and the football games and stuff like that. So as I decided to put this thing together, I had reached out to, some people that I like to, I value their opinions. I value their, what they have to say. And I'm like, who are some guys that I can, talk to, or who I can bring on the show, or who some people I can have some conversations with. And, she's like a sister to me. Like, she always have my back. She like, listen, you got to get Jesse on there, JT Tate on there. So, I reached out to you immediately. You've been close to the family for some time. I've known you my entire life. So I'm like, I can reach out to JT, man. I give, reach out to him. I know he's gonna come on. What I mean? So it's good to have you here. It's good to be able to have this conversation with you. My question to you is, and the first question, we go jump right in it. Why do you think that she felt you are a person that needs to be on this show and me having a conversation with you?
Deontay, honestly, I don't know because I work under the radar.
Okay.
I'm not a type of person that is out in the limelight. But people see what I do along with my job and plus volunteering and some of the stuff that you name in the community. And sometimes, people, when you don't notice, they're noticing. So UB, which I grew up with, and she knew me as the JT part when I was running in the streets, creating havoc and just being non-void. You know what I'm saying? She must have noticed the 180.
Okay.
And see how I'm trying to give back, trying to do what I can in this community to stop some of this senselessness that's going on in the community, the drugs, the violence, and with my job that I'm kind of out on injury right now, but I've been doing for the last 7 years, we try to help individuals incarcerated or who have criminal records get their lives back together and become productive citizens, along with a lot of other different stuff. As you know, I used to come out to the prison in Cambridge Springs and talk to the ladies and all that stuff. So that's probably, honestly, I don't know, but you never know who's watching.
Exactly. And that's I mean, I guess it's good that you answered it that way, is because like a lot of us work so hard that we just look at it like work, and we don't realize like that people are watching us and people are, really like praising us and think that we're doing a good job, and we're just doing what we think we're supposed to do as men, as individuals, as far as growing up. But I heard you say, used to wreak havoc back in the day. So now we ain't gonna put too much I don't want to put too much spotlight on that. So I'm gonna ask you, like, when it comes to like transitioning, like, you could tell me a little bit about like when you define wreaking havoc. What is that? Matter of fact, let's dive into there. What does that mean when you say wreaking havoc?
Well, I grew up on 22nd Street.
Okay.
And I had two parent home and everything, but sometimes you are defined by your environment.
Okay.
No matter they hit 22nd Street, because of that, there was a lot going on back then. And you can either go this way or you can either go that way. I had no excuse for going that way because I had a 2-parent home. My mom and dad was Christian. I was raised in the church and stuff like that. But at that time, everything was coming through 22nd Street. The drug dealers, all the pimps and the nice cars. And I gravitated towards trying to get that instead of what my parents had instilled in me, which later on I'm glad that they did, because sometimes the fact that they instilled that in me, I never went too far over the line and got into anything major. So when I say wreaking havoc, like just doing kid stuff sometimes, fighting, getting in, I was a gambler and all of that type of stuff, that living that life and trying to get fast money.
Right.
Things of that nature. So that's when I say it.
Yeah, and it's crazy. I'm glad that you're sharing that, and I'm glad that you're saying that because I spoke to Jahan the other day, and he talked a little bit about some of his troubles, and Jovan, so I know, and I have some other guys who have somewhat of a similar story when we talk about like how our environment kind of like almost had us on a direction to where we didn't want to be or didn't want to go. And everybody had a moment, a life-changing moment or a wake-up call or even an inspiration or like somebody who inspired them or somebody who influenced them or somebody who kind of like, you know, gave you that thump in the head, like get it together. So like what was that or who was that person for you? Or what was that moment or that situation to where you like, man, I'm a man. I'm about to be a man now. It's, you know, I'm getting out of here.
Well, first and foremost, like I said, my parents already had instilled that in me.
Okay.
You know, they started me off in church and stuff, so they planted the seed. You know
Okay.
what I'm saying? So the seed was always there. I can't get. First of all, I like to give all grace to God
Okay.
because without Him,
Right.
nothing, you know,
Right.
is possible.
Nothing is possible without
Nothing is
God.
possible without God. So, but far as individuals, I mean, individual, it was individuals that I owe. There was a moment when I was in the street, you know, I used to do a little bit of fighting and stuff, and you know, so I never let anybody really mess with me. So I used to really go hard if someone did something to me and I made a mistake and hurt somebody pretty bad.
Mm-hmm.
And I was actually facing some hard time
Okay.
for that charge. And an individual, Melvin Witherspoon and Larry Meredith.
Okay.
Two individuals. I was working at Spoons at the time in the summer league, just volunteering and everything. And then this situation happened, and I just, you know, they were telling me that I was facing 7.5 to 15 years, and you know, when you faced with that, I'm like 7.5 to 15 years. I got a girl. I got
right.
You know, you start putting that stuff together that you took for granted in the past. So I'm going through that and all of that, and then finally, I just told him. I said, you know, I made a mistake, did something to an individual, and I'm going to be most likely go to prison.
Mm-hmm.
And he said, well, tell me about the situation and all and this and that. So um, I told him. So when it came time for my sentencing, Larry Meredith and Spoon showed up at my sentencing, along with my mom and my other supports and everything
Okay.
of that nature, you know. So get in front of Judge Stephanie Dimitrovich. I'm sitting up there, I'm legs shaking, you know, and everything. So, you know, they get to the point where they say, is there anyone here to speak for you? And Larry Meredith and Mel Witherspoon step up. Dimitrovich goes, hey, what are you guys doing here?
Mm-hmm.
We're here for him. We feel like he's worth saving.
Okay.
You know, and I'm sitting there like, you know, so they got up and spoke and everything, you know, because they had agreed to 7.5 to 15 years from me.
Uh-huh.
Because those two gentlemen came to court, Judge, and I got to credit her too. Judge Stephanie Dimitrovich said, I'm going, instead of sending you to prison, you got these gentlemen coming in. Because, you know, at the time, Larry was a prominent lawyer here,
right,
and Mel was a councilman.
right.
So, you know,
yeah,
she wondering why they
them names
putting their
ringing
neck out
bells.
for me.
Yeah, yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And plus, they look at the family, my mom supporting all of that.
Okay.
So she ended up saying to me, she said, instead of sending you to prison, I'm going to give you 7 years of probation.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm just sitting there like, oh,
thank God. Mm-hmm.
You know. And she said, what do you have to say? I said, I promise you that I'm going to make you proud of me, Mr. Mitch. She said, oh, don't promise me nothing.
Right.
You better promise yourself.
Right.
Because if I see you back in front of me, the Lord can't save you.
Man.
This is what she said to me.
Wow.
One instance, you're going to jail. I left that courtroom. Not only did I finish that parole and probation, I never got in trouble. I went and got me a job, Sears employed me, and it just started from there.
Okay.
And then, you know, with the help of helping out in the summer leagues, friends of mine like Shannon Pulliam letting me be on the basketball stuff, just all kinds of different things. James Boyd, who was the head of probation at the time. I had got all my fines together and was working and was doing good. He let me off early.
Mm-hmm.
It was just it was a perfect storm
Right.
of a lot of different stuff that came at that time that actually just took me over the top. And I
Wow.
just separated from the streets. I never looked back. I never changed as far as like thinking I was better than them or nothing. I just knew there was something better on the other side.
Absolutely.
And
Man, that's crazy. And that's good. I mean, and it's turning into a trend. Like as I'm having conversations with more men, I'm having different, it's like there are other men who have played a role in their lives that either, has helped them get to the next level or, saved them from a situation. You know what I mean? So it's good that I'm having these conversations with these people because I think we as men need to acknowledge the fact that other men can help us, you know what I mean, or help some of the young boys. And the more we put the message out there and the more we had a conversation, I'm hoping that it will encourage more men to just want to get active and be involved in what's going on around her. And I'm not going to highlight the negative. We're not going to talk about the negative, but all I'm talking about is being progressive and making changes to where we need to start coming together and having these conversations because for you to mention, Mr. Larry Meredith, Mr. Mel Weatherspoon, you know what I mean? Like those are some names that ring bells around here.
yeah,
And we need more of us, I'm going to say my generation of us younger guys to where we have a name, we have a reputation that rings some bells. So like the question, a lot of the questions that I've been asking, I it's all freestyle and I ask people questions based on what they share. But I always ask this question as far as like making a change. Like, what do you think we as men in the city of Erie need to start doing in order for us to kind of like come together, bring the macho thing down and we from two different generations. So it might not be the same in yours that it is mine, but I know like a lot of men my age, we don't speak to each other. We don't greet each other. Like, and there's no real problems with each other, but it's just it doesn't happen. So what do you think would be some of the things that would benefit or things that need to happen in order for us to feel more open to having conversations with our fellow Black men?
First and foremost, man, we gotta be humble, man, and drop the egos. And we come from two different generations. When I was coming up, there was Hillary Clinton said it takes a village,
Mm-hmm.
And it's the truth.
I believe.
Because when I was coming up, as you know, your dad
Mm-hmm.
is one of my really good friends. That was a second home to me. Your grandparents, Mr. Cooley, and you know, we. It just seemed like if you went at home and I had so many places I could go that was family to me. My parents welcomed you. It was just that warm environment, man, that really really helped a lot. I have friends, man, that I've been friends with 40 years, man.
Yeah.
Man, you can't find people to be friends with 4 minutes now.
Right.
Man. We just have natural, real friendships. And again, sometimes it get convoluted because people go on with their lives and start doing stuff, but then things come back full circle.
Right.
A lot of the guys that I hung out with and this and that are still alive and healthy and everything of that nature, Facebook, we've come back together.
Right.
And you see it could be just talking about sports or what have you, then it brings that closeness back that we once had when we were kids.
Right.
You don't really see that. I always tell my son, I got friends, man, that I've been friends with 40 years.
Right.
Like I said. But we have to start caring about our community. We got to get back to the nuclear family.
Right.
Once that family component is broken up, and you got a single mom or a single dad or two people not getting along and things of that nature, then you got this kid here.
Right.
And we have to raise our kids. We have to take care of our kids, man. We have to nurture our kids. We have to get that family unit back together, man. Or that kid is left open because a lot of times you hear, single mom. They do the best they can, but they can't really teach them how to be men.
Right.
And then the girl misses the component of a father. So those are things that has caused a lot of issues and problems in our community. The breakdown of the traditional nuclear family. We need to get back to that. We need to get back to how Mel Witherspoon seeing a guy like this. Sometimes people can see something in you that you can't see in yourself.
Right.
I really wasn't seeing that in myself at the time, but they saw I was worth saving.
Right. Right.
You
Yeah.
know?
Yeah. No, I agree with that. Especially when you say that, like, it's sometimes like it's somebody else that sees something in you that you don't see in yourself. And that's why, like, I'm a huge advocate for networking and building relationships, because I know it's been times where, I've been down or I'm feeling less than, I'm hard on myself, and people like, man, you don't see what you're doing, or you got this, or you got that. And I'm just like, I never even take a chance or have to take the opportunity to kind of like count my blessings, because I always want so much more. So, like, you know what I mean? Just having those relationships and building that togetherness, and the gentleman before you asked, the same question, and he pretty much had the same answer as far as like starting inside the household, and, and getting back to, he said, our kids need to see our parents loving on each other. You know what I mean? But then you have certain situations where the dynamic of the family has changed. So then now we have, some dads are in jail, some dads are dead, or some fathers are just feel like, I'm not going to be a father. So then it's like, I feel like us as men, it's our job, because again, the village mentality. So it's our job to quote unquote father some of these other children. When you see some of these young fellas in the street doing something they have no business doing, like feeling comfortable to speak to them, and holding your fellow man accountable as well. Because like I can honestly say I have friends that will check me for like me, like it's times I get down hard and I'm like, I don't feel like being a dad. You know what I mean? Like, come on, man, you tripping. You got all them kids, but you can't do this, you can't do that. So
Right.
I feel like we need to be able to have those communications open up to where you comfortable asking for help, you're comfortable being checked and stuff like that. Because I don't want to raise my kids in a place to where I feel like they can't be safe when they go play outside. You know what I mean? So it's good to hear that aspect, especially from a different generation. But then also, you talked about like you having close relations. You mentioned my father. You know what I mean? You having close relationships and having friends and stuff like that. Outside of like the family values and things of that nature, like what type of people did you like when you made it? When you made the decision, you know what? I'm getting myself on the right track and I'm staying there. What type of people? Not specifically who, but what are some of the characteristics of the people that you had around you to help you develop and grow into a man?
Some of my childhood friends had gone on to be coaches, and some of them have gone on to be businessmen. Some have gone on to be preachers and spirituality. Just all kind of different positive roles that they were playing in the community and in their everyday employment
Mm-hmm.
and things of that nature. So I started seeing that stuff. Plus, I was seeing individuals that was in the streets doing what they were doing and doing 180s.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, I have to say his name because
I mean, I ain't saying it's up to you.
Yeah, I have to say his name. We used to call him Dirty Kurt.
Okay.
But it's Curtis Henderson.
Okay.
We call him Dirty Kurt because in the street doing
dirt. Right.
as
right.
we say.
Right. Right.
But I was at a show, hosting a show. As you know, I used to host
Right.
shows and all that stuff. And so I was at a show, and they said, coming up on the stage now is Reverend Henderson. I'm like, wait, Reverend Henderson?
Right.
You start reflecting
Right.
to
Right.
the street like,
Uh-huh.
wow, he's a minister now?
Right.
And that point we sat and talked, it was so hard because I kept calling him Dirty Kurt.
And then you a jokester at that too.
Yeah,
so
but it was serious because I got so used to saying that back in the day. And then it took me a little while to Pastor Henderson to respect that and talk to him. He was a guy that I liked in the street, really good dude.
Mm-hmm.
Just because someone is doing something that doesn't make them a bad person. We got to get away from that. Maybe because the person might have sold drugs. Yeah, drugs is bad, but it doesn't make that person a totally bad person. And that doesn't make that person irredeemable either. You know what I'm saying? So he was one of the guys, brother Daryl Craig, who runs the Blue Coats and everything. Now, I'm looking at him, and then I see all the positive messages, helping, being involved with the Blue Coats, which I was a Blue Coat at one time as well, too, trying to help at the schools and all of that type of stuff. And so it was just like I said, man, it was guys who just never got off the beating path, who always just went on the straight and narrow that I looked and said, wow, this individual was accomplishing this. I'll tell you this story. I went to a class reunion one time, and at the time I was working at Sears.
Mm-hmm.
And I go to this reunion, and I see all of these guys from school and everything. And these individuals were Caucasian guys.
Mm-hmm.
Hey, what's going on? Hey, what's going on? What are you doing? Oh, I own my own business. I'm a dentist. I'm a lawyer.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm sitting back there like, I'm selling lawn and garden at
Mm-hmm.
Sears, which I don't knock that now. But back then, I just felt like, these guys, same age as me, went to school with me, and they so accomplished in so many different areas. And then when I looked around, at the time, it was only a couple African American individuals that I went to school that were doing okay.
Right.
So I took from that as well, like, wow, man, all this time, and these individuals got businesses and all of this stuff like that. I need to get myself together.
Right.
So when you're talking characteristics, I like people that have ambition and drive, also that are humble, also that give a good positive message. Because sometimes you can be given a message and you're saying one thing and your actions is doing another. And those type of individuals I try to avoid. But the ones who actions and words are matching, I love that in individuals. And that's one of the
Yeah, that's interesting to hear you say, because that's kind of how we close off the last one. It was just like we were talking about, like, the possibility of change and us holding people that we know today to the standards that we knew of them without even acknowledging their change or without even respecting their change. So, it's good to hear, especially coming from you being a different generation from me, for you to be able to actually see the change, because some of the names of the people that you say, like, we don't know their story, you know what I mean? So we look at some of these guys like, oh, he's a know-it-all, or he's a goody-goody, and, don't not to surround yourself. And a lot of people don't know that. Like, Brother D might, he probably was one of them dudes back in the day that'll do something to you. And, you need to acknowledge that as well. So it's good to see, like, again, from a different generation, to understand, like, the possibility of change, and for it to be acknowledged, and for it to be a motivator. Because, like, I agree, like, a lot of us get so stuck in ourselves that we can't change, or we're comparing ourselves to other people, that we beat ourselves so bad. So I think it's important for us to kind of start acknowledging the change that we know people who come from a tough spot are doing, and to praise them, you know what I mean, to speak about it and to glorify them, so then that way people can feel good about themselves. We can start changing the narrative of some of the people in the city who have a bad name just based on something that happened 5, 10, 15, 20 years ago, all because we haven't seen these people in a while.
Right.
But then, like, you talked a lot about like the work that you do in the community. So I'm gonna ask you, like, why are you so involved in the community?
I feel like that I spent that time wreaking a little bit of havoc. Why not try to get back and save some of these individuals that I know, because I'm in the trenches as far as Spoons League, as far as athletics, and I would be remiss if I sat around and seen a kid and not give this message, to them, or let them see that there's other ways outside of what's going on or what they may think is popular. Because when I was coming up, I didn't really have that threat of losing my life over an argument. That's real now,
Yeah, very real.
and having going into the prisons and doing think tanks and listening to these individual stories that individuals made one mistake,
Yeah.
got 40 years. I've talked to people that's been in jail 33 years, went in when they was 15, 16 years old. And then you see these young kids who have a lot of potential, but no guidance.
Right.
So you try to get in there where you can, in the coaching and being on basketball staffs and anywhere you can to help these young kids look at something different. And because it's weird in the community when you have a name for wreaking havoc.
Mm-hmm.
It seems like they get more respect than when you actually trying to do something positive.
Yeah.
I see kids now, they be like, "Oh, gee," I'm like, "Oh." well, okay,
Right.
you know.
Right.
But I try to tell them, nah, man, hey, this is what I do in the community. This is what we have, because in our community, a lot of the people don't know about resources.
Right.
It is a resource rich.
Trust and believe. I know. If anybody know.
Community, and a lot of times, you can't really advance. If I took a course one time, it was called Trauma Informed Care.
Mm-hmm.
I took that course, man. I'd sit in there crying. It was like, "What's wrong with you?" And I was like, and I realized I was traumatized, man.
Wow.
I realized they were going to stuff. I'm like, the stuff that I try to sweep under the rug and not deal with, and think it was just going to go away. And after that training, I started repairing what I needed to do.
Wow.
And then when you can't help and help, I ain't gonna say fix, but help someone else if you ain't good. If how you gonna help me? I'm gonna help you if I'm broken.
Right.
So I realized I had a lot of stuff that I hadn't dealt with in my childhood because as a kid, we think time heal all wounds, but it's what you do in that time that heals the wounds and things of that nature. And I had to learn that myself, and it was just from that training because I thought I was good,
right?
Right. And that training, I was just like, and I got kind of teary. I'm like, wow,
right.
You really have to start. You really have to stop looking on the surface and look and see what people's been through and try to help and start from that point, that advantage point. We tend to, again, someone tell us something about somebody, that is the gospel.
Right.
You don't know what people have been through in their life. And it also made me look at my parents and the way I was raised and why I was raised that way. Because I think about my mother and father who grew up down in the South, in Mississippi. You imagine that?
Right, exactly. Yeah, you only do what you can, what you know that you can do.
So when I saw how I was disciplined and everything, I was like, it brought all things to full circle.
Absolutely.
And it was just from that training.
And let me ask you, when was this training?
That training was 2019.
So we talking 3 years, and the reason why I asked you, and it's interesting to hear you say that again, because I had these conversations, and I mean, a lot of anybody who follows me on social media knows I'm a huge advocate for mental health and checking your mental health, and I know like us as Black men, you know what I mean, or in the African American community within itself, like we supposed to suck it up, you know what I mean? We're supposed to just deal with it, and I went and got myself a therapist like two and a half years ago, and when I tell you it's been life changing for me to be able to talk about some of the things I go through. Some of the things I struggle with, being able to get those unbiased opinions and, get some good feedback. I realized that, like you said, like, I've been through some traumatic events in my life that's like outside looking in, it's not normal. You know what I mean? And it's things that we go through in our community as Black people that we consider to be normal that is not normal. And we need healing from, we need help from, we need fixing from. And to hear you work in that field and to hear you say that, like, so, and I asked the last gentleman, I asked everybody, it's like, when it comes to mental health, like, what's your take on us as people addressing our mental health, and like, what's your thoughts or opinions on just the subject of mental health in general?
Well, mental health in the Black community, they think it's taboo, and that's how we were raised. You know what I'm saying? You had to see a therapist out, you was nuts. But that's not true.
Right.
And I didn't learn that until later on in my life, because sometimes when you're raised a certain way or believe something, if you don't have the opportunity to, like a myth buster. That's a myth buster.
Right. Big Mama said it is real.
Right. Exactly. Yeah. You know what I mean? So mental health is so important, man. If you don't address, I still go to counseling and things just to clear my head, because I'm talking about just human beings, period, man, going through deaths, the economy, it's just all kind of whatever affects you the most.
Right.
Sometimes you just need that outlet to go even talk about it. I talk about to my therapist, and it just feels it's refreshing.
Absolutely.
If you don't address your mental health, If you have it,
right.
you're going to be lost. And there's nothing wrong with talking about, because we as men always want to think
Yep.
unbreakable, strong, which is nothing wrong with that. But deep down inside, I remember a guy told me one time, I was working at Sears and having a little issue with this individual. And, he told me, he said, that's not who you really are. I said, how do you know who I am? So I look in your eyes in the window with a soul. You're not a violent person.
Mm-hmm.
So why are you coming at me like that? Because the first thing you think about when in the conflict is violence.
Right.
This dude stepped up to me, he was like, I don't want to fight you. That's not even who you are. I can look in your eyes and tell you're not a violent person.
Right.
And some part of me was like, like someone let the hair out of a balloon.
Right. Right.
And then the guy is like best friends now.
Yeah.
I wanted to kill him at work. But he said he killed that, because I was like, hey, whatever, man. After work, and he said, why are you trying to be somebody that you aren't? You're not a violent person. And I just thought about it, and as I go in 2019 after that trauma-informed care, and I just thought about my whole life. I just realized there was JT and Jessie.
Okay.
I'm Jessie now.
Okay.
You know what I'm saying?
Okay.
And we tend to put forth someone that we aren't. And sometimes that can be detrimental to you. I got lucky, and I got lucky enough to realize I'm Jessie before something detrimental happened. But mental health you got to address that, man.
Absolutely.
And there's so much resources for it, and there's nothing wrong with addressing it.
Absolutely.
Because you can't go through. See, people think that PTSD only has something to do with the military.
Yeah.
No, bro.
Yeah.
That's real for your community,
right.
and how you were raised is just more synonymous with the military. But we all, especially growing up in what we call the hood or urban areas, man,
Mm-hmm.
we have some type of PTSD and mental health going on.
Listen, it is so relieving to hear you say that, because I was having a conversation with an older gentleman. And I'm not going to say this older gentleman's name, but I'm going to look at the camera and I'm going to say my name could possibly be his name if he picked to choose that name to be his name. But we was having a conversation, when I first started seeing my therapist, and this guy, he goes through some things, and I'm like, man, listen, man, maybe you should get some help, see a therapist. And he immediately hit me with like, God's my therapy, and I'm gonna go to church. And you know how like us as people, we throw the religion out there to kind of steer people away. So like to hear you say that, as again, like I'm 36 years old, so I'm not, for you to be older than 36 years old and for you to say something like that is like, it means a lot to me, because I really was having, and we were having this conversation today. The God my therapist wasn't today. This was 2 years ago, but to hear it today. So like, just because we are in different generations, I'm gonna say like, what would you say to the man who is 40 years or older, who has not been addressing his mental health? Like, what would you say to encourage him to maybe get some help, maybe talk to a therapist, or even do some self-reflection and some self-evaluating? Like, how would you encourage, what would you say that somebody would believe, you know what, you sold that to me, that's encouraging, I'm gonna go get some help? Like, how would you tell a man that's older than me, get some help?
Well, I lead by example. You know what I'm saying? I do that, once I return to work and everything. That's what I do.
Mm-hmm.
Some of my, the beautiful thing about my program is a lot of my childhood friends come through there for assistance.
Okay.
And I've gotten a lot of them to go to the different organizations here to check their mental health.
That's what's up.
You know what I'm saying? I've talked to them. I've told them about, because just your story is inspiring. And I told one of my friends, I was like, yeah, I see a therapist, man. Like,
Did you get the?
He was looking at me like, why?
Right.
I said, man, because I'm going through a lot of things, and you can't. I can't just carry all of these burdens on my shoulder without trying to reach. There's nothing wrong with reaching out for help, man.
Not at all.
That's the thing about it. We think if we don't reach out for help, we strong as a bull. We can take care of everything. Nah, bro. That I'm gonna tell you one thing that really made me seek help. I was at home one day, and the wall started caving in, and I couldn't breathe
Mm-hmm.
because I had all these things, burdens, and everything going on. I didn't know what was going on. I was like, then I threw water on my face, turned on the lights. I didn't know what was going on,
Mm-hmm.
you know. And then finally, I went outside, like to get fresh air, and I'm like, "What the hell was? What was that?"
Right.
That was called a panic attack.
Right. Oh yeah.
I used to hear people talk about
Yeah.
this. I used to be like, "Man, get out of here!"
Right. You making that up?
You
Yeah.
making that up?
Yeah.
Ain't nothing wrong with you trying to get a check,
Right.
you know, stuff like that. You know what I'm saying? That's real.
Yeah. And I mean, here you said, yeah, because that's what we think. Like when you hear mental health or you hear get a therapist or even like medication, like I'm not on any medications. I'm not opposed to those who are, those who need it. But in our community, when you hear that mental health or you hear a therapist or you like, we instantly think, oh, you just trying to get a check, you acting out because, and that's sad because we are so conditioned to think that's a way for us to live, that if we act crazy, we can make some money, and people don't realize that like some of us really do have some issues that we need to address and we not need to look at like the only way I can address my issues is by receiving a check from the government.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like, and I think a lot of us have thought like that. And, you know, and it's good. Like I said, it's good to hear you say that because I want that to change. And I want some of the older generation to feel comfortable with getting some therapy and then being able to relay that information to some of us, the younger generation, to get us some therapy, because then I eventually think that everybody's not going to necessarily need therapy, but it will come a point in time where we're all going to know how to treat people. We're going to know how to talk to people. We're going to know how to meet people where they are, to where like we don't have to continue that trauma train going on, because I've dealt with my traumas. So I'm making sure I'm not putting my children through anything. And then my children are going to pass on to their children how I treated them and so on. But we need, I believe that we as, and I'm speaking for the men because I am men, like we as Black men, or we as men in general, need to like get away from the stigmas of addressing your mental health and actually do something to get some help. You know what I mean? And I don't want to turn this into a whole mental health segment, but like I tell people, I'm a huge advocate for mental health. I see a therapist on a weekly basis. I love my therapist. I love the conversation. She's changed my life. She's helped me with my children. She's helped my family, my relationship. So for anybody who's struggling and you feel like you too strong to go get help, you're probably weaker than you actually think that you are by sitting on all that mess on your own. And that's just my take on that for real. But
yeah, I agree.
You know what I mean? So now, all right. So now I'm gonna ask you, like, as far as like me reaching out to you. Now I said somebody asked you to do this, and why did you think? But now my question is like, why were you interested in coming on here, especially having a conversation with me, not knowing what I'm going to talk about, not knowing what you're signing up for? I mean, I sent you a little brief little description as far as how it goes, but why were you okay with doing this?
That's only cool because I feel like I have a message to, you just never know who's watching, who, goes back to, I never knew UB was, I just grew up with her, and I just go on my daily trying to do the best I can to help out in the community and things of that nature and stuff like that. So for me, man, I feel like that anybody in this community, whether good or bad, can have a positive message for change. Because I've gotten good messages out of bad stuff.
Mm-hmm.
For me, like when you asked me that, first of all, like I said, it was you.
Right.
Number one.
Okay.
You know what I mean?
Okay.
Because I didn't really know, if you knew the history of how, on both sides of your family.
Mm-hmm. Oh, I know.
Your Uncle Tracy is, and then your sister's father, Keith, was my best friend.
Okay.
Keith Butler. So, we never really got, I remember he was a little boy and all, and then, we all went on to our life. That's like I told you.
Right.
We went on our lives, but I seen Will again. That's like a brother to me.
Right.
Your dad is like we see him, he come to the court. I seen them, and so when it was you, I said, yeah, because I also know some of the things you have gone through,
Okay.
and you just never know. I might can inspire you, or I don't know. I didn't know your situation or anything of that nature,
Mm-hmm.
but I also know that if I can do a 180 and try, because I'm still trying to be better.
Absolutely.
You know, I'm still struggling,
Right.
but I have the tools to get through and start lessening some of my burdens and issues and problems because you're going to always have those,
Absolutely.
So um, the reason I'm on, man, is because, a lot of people don't like to talk about their what they may deem negatives.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? Because what people don't understand is what may be negative to you may be okay to someone else. What may be positive could be negative. You know what I mean? You
Right.
just never know who's watching, who you can inspire. Because I get inspired by people all the time.
Right.
I'll sit and what I like to do is I like to watch the Hall of Fame speeches for some athletes
Uh-huh.
who've made it and
Uh-huh.
listen to their story, and you be like, because the one thing I learned, Deontay, is that sometimes when you think your life sucks,
Mm-hmm.
I remember one day I was stressed out going to work and just like, wow, man, I don't know if I can do it.
Right.
And then I get up to the light on 12th and right there on the McDonald's on 12th Street.
Uh-huh.
And I look to my left and it's a guy with no legs in a wheelchair getting it.
Right.
I looked over to him and he said, how you doing?
Waving happy.
Waving happy. And I'm talking about, I don't know if I can make it.
Right.
And I just said to myself, man, like, I'm counting blessings.
Right.
Maybe I'm going through some things, but I look over and see that what that individual got it with no legs in a wheelchair, got to rely on somebody.
Right.
And I just realized that though I do have problems and that I do still trying to get better in life, that I'm still a lot more blessed than a lot of people. You got to start counting your blessings.
Absolutely.
And being humble and appreciating the life that you are living, because I just feel like God don't make mistakes, and you go through things for a reason, and like I said, I'm just learning, man, and hopefully our conversation, because I'm moved by our conversation, just the fact that I know that you address your mental health.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Listen. I mean, I know I just sent you the friend request on there, but man, like I go live. I was going live every day. Well, not at first I was doing TikTok videos. It started with Mental Health Awareness Month. Like Brooklyn challenged me to do some stuff, and then I just kept going. Then I was doing the Facebook Live videos, but I'm a huge advocate for it, man, because like growing up as a young, like they told me I was angry. I had some anger problems because of the way my life was, and I'm like, I'm not angry. So I had a little anger management growing up. So then I told myself, like, I don't get angry. You know what I mean? I'm going to make sure no matter what, because I know what I can do when I get angry. I know I'll take it there. So, like, I don't even like using that word. I'll say I'm upset. I'm disappointed. I find other words because I know when I use the word anger, it gets me certain, it takes me to a certain level. And me learning and growing and developing as a man, like, I realized that, like, there was some things going on with me, but it was possible for me to address those things. I can't keep blaming the world for my problems. I can't keep pointing the finger. And I read a lot of books too. So what I'm doing is I'm taking 100% responsibility for my life and anything that has ever happened to me. You know what I mean? And acknowledging the fact that, like I put myself in situations to where things didn't turn out the best for me because I always had a choice. So as I'm learning these things and as I'm talking to different people and I'm understanding the concept of addressing my mental health, like I speak on it highly, I speak on it heavily. I I tell people what my therapist said or my therapist this or my therapist that. Like I'm open about it because I believe that it has changed my life. I believe that it can change other people's lives. Like I said, I always have conversations. I tell them it's good to get an objective, unbiased opinion. So like I'm definitely appreciating this conversation. And this is why I want to continue to do this. Like I said, I reached out to 60 men in the city. You know what I mean? And I'm waiting for a reply. And the replies that I've been getting is like people like, yo, what's up? I'm down. What day you got? What time you got? So like my calendar is getting filled, But again, like for you to say you inspired by this conversation, like this is what I think we need to have. You know what I mean? Like on a lot. I'm doing it live so people can see, so it can be a trending thing. You know, we all follow trends, but like this is what, and the people need to see us having these conversations and see that, you know, it's okay. You know, it's okay to say I'm not okay. You know what I mean? Or it's okay. Like I was telling the other guy, like I have friends that, you know, they hit accomplishments. They call me like, yo, guess what? I just did this. And then my response is right back. That's what's up. Congratulations. I just did this. And they're like, that's what's up. Like we own our stuff. Like we going to the next level, as opposed to me having somebody where, you know, we all have friends like, nah, you don't want to call such and such because he gonna think I'm bragging. He gonna think I'm hating. So like being able to have conversations where you can have some dialogue, and I mean, it's okay to agree, it's okay to disagree, and we don't have to get upset, get frustrated, act on emotions. Like I believe these type of conversations are the conversations that need to happen. I'm not gonna say on a regular basis because of course it's good to complain a little bit, it's good to vent a little bit, but for the most part, if you're not talking to me about progress, if you're not talking to me about getting better, I don't want to hear your problems. You know what I mean? I don't want to hear about you being stuck in a rut if you're not doing anything about it. Because at one point in time, like they raised I was at work. They raised my child support to $1,700 a month, $1,750, right? Mm-hmm. Mind you, I work at Cambridge Springs. I'm driving to and from so my paycheck was just paying me to get to work.
Right.
You know what I mean? So I'm broke. But then like I was working at Cadenzi. I cashed out my 401k that was left, and I went and bought me an old beat up truck. Went and bought some so I went to some yard sales and bought some landscaping equipment and stuff like that, because I'm like, listen, like it's my fault. You know what I mean? Regardless of, I'm not going to blame the system. My baby mother's my fault. So I need to take responsibility for this. I need to do something about it. So, you know what I mean? Like I'm a type of person to where I'm going to get up and I'm going to go and I'll make things happen. And like, we need more of that. We need to have more conversation like that, because a lot of us feel like the world come crashing down on us. There's nothing that we can do about it. And there's always something that you can do if you put forth the effort. You know what I mean? So again, like these conversations are, I mean, it's going to be life changing. Like I said, I did it a couple months back. I probably got like 12 good interviews in. Then I got a little busy and I stopped doing them. But I'm seeing the importance of these conversations. And then even like the responses that I'm getting, like people want to talk about real life stuff, but it's just like, who's going to start it? You know what I mean? So I'm like, I'm going to start it.
Right.
And then and I don't care if when I get off of here, somebody else going live and they talking to another man tomorrow. This ain't no thing that we're, don't copycat. Deontay started that. Like, no, everybody do it. You know what I mean? This is what we need to be talking about as men. So, you know what I mean? Like, yeah, I'm a huge advocate for mental health. I'm a huge advocate for change. I work hard. I bust my tail to make sure that I can accomplish things. I'm not quitting on myself. I'm not quitting on nobody who's not willing to quit on themselves. And, you know, I work hard every single day, you know, so it's good to have a conversation with somebody to realize that, like, and you smile, you always smiling, you know what I mean? You always got a big smile on your face, but to realize and understand that there might be some pain behind that smile.
Oh, absolutely.
You know, and you're working on it. You're addressing it. You're acknowledging it. And that's why I believe it's possible for you to smile, because like you said, you're always going to have problems. So, you know what I mean? You gotta learn how to deal and fight through them.
And I didn't really start. I always smile. I always like joking and all that type of stuff. But I was living a facade because I had so much going on. I was dealing with so much, and until I got that therapist, I can go there and just vent. I leave out of there, I feel like I can dunk. Because it's a lot of stuff on my mind that I used to look at as embarrassing. I didn't want nobody all in my business. And sometimes when you hold that stuff in, and the stress is something else, bro. You see people having strokes and all of this type of stuff and things of that nature. It don't always be what you eat, is what you holding in.
Yeah.
And other aspects in your life, man. And I think this is beautiful.
Right.
Because we need these type of dialogues.
Right.
Because someone see me and be like, oh, JT cool enough to talk about it.
Exactly. Exactly.
You know, and you know, for you to do this, or anyone else to do this, we got to get together, because it starts with us, man. You know, you can't. Yeah, save you, and then you save you, and then you get out to the energy to pass it on, because you don't know who you're affecting. Just with I've been affected by people just in conversation.
Right.
When I start counting my blessings seriously, not just saying it as a cliche.
No, I
People
understand.
say a lot of stuff for cliche,
Right,
man.
right.
Cliche stuff.
Yeah, I
But
count my dubs. I did this, that happened. I got this going on. My kids is good. Yeah, I know what you mean.
when I started counting my blessing, it was just in happenstance running into an individual in Walmart,
Mm-hmm.
and that, again, you think your problems is insurmountable.
Right.
So the guy asked me, he goes, "Hey, which way you going, man? Can I get a ride?" You like, I don't even know
Right.
and this and that. So I was like, bro, I'm not going that way.
Right.
So I get out there and get in the car, pull going down Broad Street and this and that. And this guy is walking with all of these bags. And I went by him, but it kept bothering me.
Mm-hmm.
I did a U. I came back around and picked him up.
Mm-hmm.
So I picked him up and everything, and so I was like, "Oh," I said, "Where do you live at?" He said, "Oh, well, I live on Linwood."
Mm-hmm.
And I said, "Okay, I can take you over there." And I'm like, "How's it? You working?" Because the first thing come from my job, we get job, drug and alcohol, mental health,
Right.
all kinds of different things. If we don't have it, we know where to send you.
Right.
So I said, maybe this individual need a job or
Right.
something, and this and that and all of that. But what happened was the individual had lost his girlfriend. She had got murdered,
Mm-hmm.
and he was taking over the kids.
Mm-hmm.
And I knew that case,
Mm-hmm.
and he was like, "Yeah, man, I gotta take care of my babies,
Mm-hmm.
and gave him a ride and everything." And I told him, he said, "Oh, I'm working at Conteen, so I have a job and everything." I
Mm-hmm.
said, "Well, here's my card. And if you need anything else as far as, because a lot of times when you go through trauma and stuff, you got the like places like the crime vengeance
Mm-hmm.
that you can go to. They got all kind of programs to help you out.
Right.
So I just gave them that. But the thing about it is sometimes, we get weird about giving people rides and stuff, but sometimes you just don't know what someone
Right.
has gone through.
Absolutely.
And that made me realize that I need to start counting my blessings that I even have a vehicle.
Yeah. Yeah. I agree.
I don't have a vehicle, so I really do count my blessings, and anything I can help you with,
Okay.
because that's what we got to do if we want to try to change the climate of our community,
Right.
which is in peril right now.
Right. So then, like, I'm glad that you said, like, going to that point, like when you think about it, and I think you kind of touched on a little bit, like, what's the importance to you of a man praising another man in public or in private or whatever the case may be? Like, how important is that? Or even for you, how important is it for you? And how important do you think it is for us as men to be like, yo, I seen you, that's a nice car you got. That's a nice outfit or good job on whatever. Or I see you with your son. That's what's up. That little man gonna remember that forever. Like, how important is that? How important do you think that is for everybody else? And how important is it for you?
Very important, because when people are doing good, we can't be jealous of that.
Right.
Like, I'm not jealous of anybody's accomplishments, man. Some of my friends, they're accomplishing so much, and they're bringing me along with them.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm just happy that we got to get away from that, Deontay, of not acknowledging when someone, I remember back in the day, man, being in the neighborhood and person get out of jail, you be like, "What's up, man? How you doing, man?" You praising all that stuff and getting out of, you praising somebody getting out of jail. Okay, you got out of jail, you did your time. And then someone be like, "I just got my master's degree." Oh, man, you think you better than somebody.
Listen, that happened when I came home from graduating college. I was asking people, "Where my party at?" I feel like I just did 4 years. Where's my book money? I swear I was asking people. So I agree with you there.
Yeah, we got to get out of that mentality.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And I see people getting party for getting out of jail and everything. And they do celebrate when their kids or somebody making an accomplishment, get a degree or something like that. But I praise people, man, for what their accomplishments and stuff like. I have no problem doing that.
So if it was 3 people in the city area right now that you would give some praise to, and I'm gonna put you on the spot, who would those 3 people be that you would give some praise to, and why?
Well, he doesn't live in the city anymore, but Corey Coleman.
Okay, I got Corey coming on. I think Corey is Friday at 4, tomorrow at 4, one or the other. But Corey Coleman,
beast, bad boy.
I remember Corey used to carry my big self on his shoulders. I used to be at his house all the time, so I agree with you there. Corey Coleman, get all the flowers. I wish I knew how to work this sound. I'm gonna figure it out and get the hand claps and all of that. But okay, so we got Corey Coleman. That's one.
Corey Coleman is one. Shannon Pulliam.
Okay.
Shannon Pulliam is integral part of me, actually, my mindset.
Okay.
Because at the time where he let me join his staff, I was still in the mix.
Right.
And as I joined his staff, and I just love going on the road, doing something else and all of that. And then look at his accomplishment as a coach.
Right.
You know, nobody has more wins coaching in the city.
Right. Than Shannon. Okay. I didn't know that.
Yeah. Shannon got like 300 and something wins.
Okay.
You know, and then what he's doing with the Keystone.
Absolutely.
And all of that type of stuff.
Absolutely.
And the fact that he does try to give back if people want help.
Right.
You know, so he's another one that I would give flowers to. And my cousin, Rich Bush.
Okay.
He's come a long way.
So I know Rich Bush by face, and I know but outside of that, I don't know too much about him. But it's good, and I'm glad that you calling that out. Like as far as Rich Bush, so tell us a little bit about him because I feel like the first 2 you named 2 juggernauts around here. Yeah. So I'm giving Rich Bush's, you know what I mean? You give Rich Bush's cap. Corey and Shannon, we all know they're amazing men around here. I want to hear somebody else that we don't know. But continue on Rich Bush, of course.
Well, Rich Bush is my cousin.
Okay.
He comes from some real impossible odds.
Okay.
And through those odds, he's made massive accomplishments. Went to great basketball player, went to college at one point in time. Could have been, if he would have played his senior year, probably 3rd in scoring all time at Gannon.
Yeah?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Wow.
If he'd have played his senior year, he would have been up there. He'd have been in the top 5.
Okay.
Say that, barring injury or anything.
Right. See, that's why it's good to have these conversations.
Then he left, went to Raleigh, was a police officer for a while. And, he's one of these individuals in the community that this community also needs, because when we talk about overcoming obstacles and getting through some tough times, he's done it.
Okay.
He hasn't realized his potential in that realm. I mean, he knows it, but he has a lot to offer this community as far as leadership and things of that nature, because he's overcome some impossible odds.
Okay.
And he's someone that deserves a lot of praise in this community, but he's a pretty humble guy.
Okay.
When it comes down to who he is.
Right.
And stuff like that. But I always tell him, hey, man, you got to get out and spread some of that love. Get him on the show, man.
Yeah, I mean, now that you say that, I don't know. I've put a post up, but and I'm glad you said that. So here's the thing, right? Because, and I know, I shriek up when people say this, and correct me if I'm wrong. I'm always open to being checked, but when I hear the word humble, I shriek. You know what I mean? Because I'm the type of person to where I feel like I understand the difference of practicing humility, being humble. And I say this in the most, I guess, modest, ain't nothing humble about me. Right. And the reason why I say nothing humble about me is because I practice humility every single day. I have good intentions, you know what I mean? I live a good life. I lead a good life. Anything that I do, I work hard for, and there are plenty of people who help me, and I give flowers to the people, but it's times where, I feel like when I want to poke my chest out and I want to strut my stuff, I don't ever want anybody to ever tell me, yo, you need to be humble because I worked hard to do it. And I understand what it means when people say, be humble, just kind of keep your head down and all of that. And that's where I look at the humility thing. And I mean, you really don't got to expand on that if you don't want to, but I like to throw that out because I know a lot of people who know me personally. So I know they be kind of laughing when they hear people say the humble thing. But yeah, like for me, like I know how to practice humility. Like I said, I when I was down and out and I had to give all my money up, I was cutting grass. You know what I mean? Like I remember being a janitor at Burton, you know, scrubbing toilets and you know what I mean, paper routes and babysitting and stuff like that. So I feel like when I have nice things or I do good things, like nobody's gonna tell me to be humble because I've practiced humility every single day to be able to shine. And I feel like when people tell me, not you, but I mean when people tell me out like, yo, you need to be humble, I feel like sometimes that's just somebody telling you, like I'm jealous of you instead of praising me. You know what I mean? Like that's what's up. So that's just always my take on. I hear the word humble and I just be like, "Ugh."
And you're right. You have to understand what standpoint is coming from. Because some people tell you to be humble because they're hating on your accomplishments, and they thinking that because just because you acknowledge your accomplishment doesn't mean that you're big headed,
Right.
or anything of that nature, and
Right.
stuff like that. Because sometimes you got to be proud. When I accomplish stuff, I'm proud of it. I don't go around talking unless someone acknowledges it.
Right,
But
right.
if I'm in a conversation and they said I will talk about
Okay.
what I've, you know what I'm saying, and this and that. But and you're right. You coming from a standpoint, like for me, I go off of energy. I don't talk to a lot of people about it, but I could be talking to you and I go off of energy.
Right.
You know, on how what direction the conversation is going, what I'm going to take from the conversation, and everything like that.
Okay.
So I can almost tell when I'm being slighted. They call it shade now.
Yeah, yeah,
you know,
yeah.
And then I can tell when someone just said, "Good job."
Right.
You know what I'm
Right.
saying? So what you said is totally the truth. When you accomplish something, because it starts with you.
Absolutely.
It's called self-esteem, not other people's esteem.
Absolutely.
You got to build that self-esteem in yourself. And what you've been through, people don't know. That's what I'm saying about people looking at the surface and judging and not knowing what you've been through and why.
Right. Exactly.
Just getting surface, I cannot tell you how many times that I've looked at someone, drew a conclusion, and it was nothing like that.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I tried not to do that.
Uh-huh.
I'll tell you this story, man. I was coming from, I was driving down the street one day and I seen, it was right on the corner of 23rd and 9th. There used to be a bar there. The bar's still there, but it was bikers all outside.
Yep.
You remember that?
I know exactly what
Across
you're
from
talking
Seraphim.
about.
And I was coming down the street and I see all these bikers and I see all these black people around them and stuff. And I was like, yeah, racist bikers. You know, they probably messed with somebody in the neighborhood.
Right.
So as I get up on it, you know, I'm ready to come out, just be nosy and see them get it. Because in my mind, I'm thinking, all bikers are racist. This is, you know, that stupidity.
Yeah, yeah.
And I get up there and I'm looking, they frying turkeys, handing it out to families in the neighborhood.
Yeah. Yeah, you'd be surprised some of the worked in biker clubs. I thought the same thing though too.
I'm like, what's going on here?
Right.
Oh, they frying turkeys for the urban neighborhood and everything. I got out that car and started, hey, so what do you do for? Well, I'm a dentist. Stereotype, but for years and years and years, I used to ride by them and be like,
yeah, yeah.
Because you would think Hell's Angel, you know, what a fool believes he sees. You know what I'm saying? So we have to break that stereotype.
Absolutely.
And start uplifting and appreciating people that have made accomplishments that are giving back to the community.
Right.
Those people that I named are people that made accomplishments, but also giving back to the community and things of that nature and try to uplift us. You know?
Absolutely. I agree. Yeah. Especially like with the stigmas and the stereotypes that come from some of our upbringing or some of the things that were, you know, instilled in us and told, and we just always believed it to be true without doing the research. Like I have conversations with people out there all the time. Like I'm not the person that I was 5-10 years ago because I'm learning, I'm changing, I'm evolving, and I'm growing. You know, and a lot of us, and I mean, and what I think a difficult thing for us too, when it comes to re-educating ourselves, is sometimes we have to acknowledge the fact that our parents taught us the wrong things,
right,
or our siblings taught us the wrong things, and it's difficult to say, my mom didn't know any better because we feel like we were disrespecting how we were raised. But like,
Right.
I've grown to learn that I know that, you know, my mom and my dad did everything that they could. They did everything that they could do because if they could do more, they would have done more.
Right.
They did everything that they could do, everything that, you know, they wanted to do. But then I also understand there were some things that were done that shouldn't have happened. You know what I mean?
Right.
And I need to acknowledge the fact that they only gave me what they knew they could, but I need to unlearn some of those things and, you know, treat my children different and stuff like that. And a lot of us don't want to say that because we feel like we letting down our parents. But I look at it like this: like I appreciate every single thing that happened to me growing up because it's molded me. And then I also love the fact that I have the opportunity to learn and to grow and to do it differently. And then for my parents to see it, because I love, like, me and my dad and my son. Today's our third day going to the gym together. I got Willie in the gym.
Okay,
You
that's
know
what's
what I mean?
up.
So today was day 3. You know what I mean? And
Yeah.
like the very first day that we went, like, it's not even about the workout, you know what I mean? Because me and my dad, we have our ups and our downs, we bang heads and we argue, but it's just like, yo, it's my dad, his son, and my son.
3 generations.
3 generations in the gym together. So I even told him, like, man, I know you can get sore at first, even if you just gotta come chill in the whirlpool, you know what I mean? Like, I dropped him off at home. Me and my son I got out there. I went back to my dad. I felt like a little boy again, man.
Yeah.
Like, after I left the gym, I just wanted to be around my dad. I'm
Yeah,
like, yo,
yeah.
like, I almost broke into tears telling him, like, you don't understand, like, outside of the workout, like, that was like a memorable moment for me. Like, I was happier. It's just about to sound crazy and very selfish.
Mhm.
I was happier being in the gym working out with my dad than I was having my son being there seeing it.
Yeah.
Because I'm like, this is my pops. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
I'm working out with him. So, like, yeah, no, that stuff is good. And like, I wanted to come back to the humble and the humility thing because I use this analogy and I've used it before with people. And I say to them, like, so you got 2 birds, you got a pigeon and you got a peacock. You know what I mean? Which bird would you pick to be?
Right.
I'm gonna ask you, I'm gonna talk you through this. And, you know, which bird would you, if you pigeon or a peacock, what bird would you pick to be?
Well, proverbially, the beautiful peacock.
Okay,
You know?
exactly. So peacock, and you know the speed that. So why would you pick a peacock?
Because that's what we're taught to pick.
Right.
Because we don't really know the origin of the pigeon.
Right.
In the stereotypes, the pigeon don't do nothing but
right. But from the eye, you would pick the peacock because it looks better, right?
It looks better.
How do you know that the peacock looks better than the pigeon?
It's by perception.
Right, but I mean, like, what catches your eye to make you feel like the peacock?
The colors when it spreads its wings.
Thank you. Right there.
Yeah.
The colors when it spreads its wings. So, like, when I think of like being humble versus humility, like a peacock don't always got their wings spread.
Right.
You know what I mean? So a lot of people see the pigeon flying around, all that. You look at, but then when that peacock spread its wing, it's like, oh, that thing's beautiful.
Right.
That thing is. I want to be that, and the only way somebody's gonna know that you're beautiful or that you that peacock is if you spread your wings. So all of that humble stuff, just flying around like a pigeon, being white or gray or whatever, and just pooping all out the sky like that. A pigeon to me is a humble bird, and a peacock is a bird that is not humble and practices humility. Peacocks, like, I seen a peacock walk around all lazy, they just be chilling, all of that. But when it's time to shine and they open that thing up, people admire the beauty. Nobody ever told a peacock, put those feathers away.
Mm-hmm.
So that's why I tell people all the time, like, like, don't be humble, practice humility.
Right.
You know what I mean? Work hard, get everything. I mean, and you be humble when you come off. If I scratch off a ticket and it's $1 million, yeah, I'm gonna be humble. Because I know I can't make $1 million in a day do anything. If I scratch, I'm gonna be humble. But like, I just wanted to throw that out there, that piece of information. And like me, I can talk all day. I know you can talk all day. We've been at it for an hour. So I'm just gonna leave. I'm gonna ask you, first of all, I'm gonna ask you this before I close it, but like, and I ask everybody this, outside of work and outside of any other things that you have going on, as far as building, as far as growing, as far as connecting and making things, taking things to the next level, what do you have working on, if anything? And if not, that's cool. But if so, how can I help you?
Well, at this point, I'm really just trying to overcome some obstacles that I am getting help with. And,
okay.
Things. I don't really have anything that I'm doing per se.
Okay.
Because right now, once I go back to work, and I already have a full dance card. You know what I'm saying? But I would like to get involved in something positive to help revitalize this community. So if it's something that I can help anyone out with my time, presence, and things of that nature, that's the stuff that I like to do. Currently, I don't have anything going on. But I would like to plug my son's has a podcast.
Let's go.
Tay Adams.
Okay. Oh, that's your son?
Yeah, that's my son.
Well, I did not know that was. He just had a baby or something too,
Yeah,
right? We friends. If I just seen you, yeah.
Devontae.
Okay, that's what's up. I
Yeah,
did not know that was your son.
So I'll try to get him on, and well, he's already put himself.
Yeah, he do the sports stuff, you know. Yeah, he do the
stuff,
sports and the games, and yeah.
Yeah, So check out that his podcast.
Absolutely. Make sure y'all check out Tay Adams. He do sports. I'll be seeing this. You know, he be having the sports talks going all on my timeline. You know, the LeBron, Kobe, LeBron, Mike, and all of that good stuff. So make sure y'all check out Tay Adams' podcast. Check out his page. Congratulations to you and your beautiful young man. I see you named him Devontae. I got a brother named Devontae. So, you know, kudos to you. Your dad in here advocating for you. Anybody who watches or is watching, make sure y'all check out Tay Adams' podcast.
Hey, man, pleasure having you, brother. You know what it is. Anytime you need me, I'm right here.
Absolutely.
Thank you. Thanks for inviting me.
Absolutely. And before we close off, I'm going to tell you, like I tell everybody, like the plan is to take this from more than just talking to action.
Right.
You know what I mean? So it's going to come a point in time where we're going to host something, we're going to put something together, and I want all the fellas to come through. We'll sit down, have a conversation. You know, if we have a night out where we go out, have a good time, or, you know, just be a little bit more active and, you know, in showing our face, showing us in the presence. Like I sent out 60 invitations. Nobody said no. Like, there's people who I think left me on red who are contemplating, and I think they watching to wait to see how it goes. Mm-hmm. I got a lot of people that's like, yeah, I'm down. Then I got people like, you know, I'm busy, give me a month. So like, people are interested, and we definitely 100%. Gonna get this. We're gonna take this to the next level. We're gonna keep having these conversations, and then like, and I know Erie's a gossip town, so I want people gossiping about this now.
Right.
Like, I want people like, did y'all see them on the Facebook trying to be all positive? Who they think they is? And them is good guys. And I want people to gossip about being positive. I want people to gossip about good men in our community. I want people to gossip about strong Black men in our community. I want people to gossip about the mentorship that we doing, the leadership that we provide, and the new changes that we like. I want people talking about me. So I'm going to keep putting my face out here, my voice. I'm going to keep calling men on here. I want people to talk about all of the good that we are doing within our communities, the things that we are doing within ourselves. I appreciate you for coming on here. I'm going to pass the mic to you if you got any. Again, this is the Jessie Tate Show on the Social Experiment. So you got any last things that you want to say? You done plugged your son in. Outside of that, I mean, if not, we can end it here, but I'm going to let you close this out.
Like I said, man, happy to do it, man. And anything, again, you know, we trying to help this community out, and anything I can do, man, that's positive, that reach me on Facebook.
Okay.
And this and that. Yeah.
Appreciate
you, bro.
Absolutely, most definitely. So I'm gonna close this Broadcast. You know, I'm gonna let Mr. Jesse, he's Jesse now. Let Mr. Jessie Tate leave on out of here, but I'm gonna come back on here. You know, I'm gonna give y'all a little 5 or 10 minutes of my recap of my night. So again, I know I've been on Facebook Live all week and just did 2.5 hours. So you don't want to listen to what I gotta say. That's all fine and dandy with me. But for anybody who's interested, I'm gonna be back shortly. I'm gonna walk him out the door, refill my tea, and I'm gonna come back on. So if you got time to pay attention to me, check me out. But not, thank you for your time. I appreciate the audience for watching. I appreciate, you know, the feedback. I appreciate all the fellas who want to get involved. We're going to keep building. We're going to keep moving. We're going to keep growing. For anybody who's watching and is interested, send me some more names. I got a list of 60, but I will interview the entire city if I have to. And there are some people who, like, I want to get on here who are saying that they're not going to come. And it's a specific person that I'm talking about. He know who he is. I'm gonna get you on this show, bro, eventually. And if I gotta wait till I get my money up to pay you to come, I'm gonna pay you to come. Like, but we're gonna get you on here. So everybody have a good night. I'm gonna let him out, and I'll be back on in a couple minutes just for a little brief conversation. Appreciate y'all time.